AI is going to advance Bible translation. In fact, at the Museum of the Bible, I didn't mention this, but we have an illuminations room. So in the museum, when you come, whoever's listening, you will get to see a room that reflects the progress to date on the Bible translation movement around the world. And just a few weeks ago, we had the distinct privilege of hosting a Bible translator from a very persecuted area of the world who completed the translation with the assistance of AI.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode. Up next, I get a chance to talk with the old friend Tracy Thomas of Museum of the Bible. So, Tracy, how are you?
I'm great, Tommy. How are you? And when you say old friend, you don't mean that we're old.
No, no. Well, you look a lot younger than me. All right. I have no hair. I walk into my wife's first grade class, and they think I'm her grandfather.
Oh my goodness, not at all. And I had a birthday yesterday, and I like to keep telling everyone 45 is the new 35. So
Yeah.
we're good. We're totally
Yes.
good.
Yes. 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 And where's home for you now, Tracy?
Jacksonville, Florida. Sunny and cold currently, Jacksonville, Florida.
Very good. And yesterday was your birthday. What was one highlight that you had from your birthday celebration the last couple of days?
You will love this, Tommy. We were at the Jacksonville Jaguars game where the big fight broke out between the
Yes.
Jags and the Texans, and I was like 10 rows away, saw the whole thing. When
Wow.
you all got
Yeah.
cut off from the live feed, we got to keep it just went on. It was like we were in an ice hockey game. The fight was so bad.
Oh my God. But at
So
the same time, I would say it was a cheap shot against Trevor Lawrence. All right.
it really was. It was a really cheap shot. So we had fun, but it was fun to be with my kids and enjoy what they love. I'm not a huge football fan, but I enjoy it live and in person. It's always fun, and it was a
Yeah.
beautiful sunny day. And Jags didn't win, but there's always next year.
Yeah. Do your kids like football?
Oh my gosh, obsessed. College, NFL, you name it, they're into
Really?
it. They are
Yeah.
into the rankings, especially my one son. You can ask him about any NFL team and he knows their stats, their best players. He
Very
just is
good.
his hobby. Yeah.
All right. So when as he gets older, have you ever talked to him about going to data, becoming a data science in the sports world?
I did. I actually, we were going to watch the Jerry Maguire movie with him and then realized he's not old enough yet. But one day, I
Yeah.
think he could be like a sports agent or in the business side of sports for sure, because he can sell ice to an Eskimo. He is a
Yeah.
winsome guy. So I think either an agent or, like you said, data analytics, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Side note, I know we're going to talk about your journey. I literally had an intern who was a pastor's kid, and he went to the University of Vancouver. And so he started volunteering for his baseball team and started charting stats and everything like that for the Vancouver baseball team. Well, he's really good. He's very bright. Got an internship at the Miami Marlins. And so now he's interning there and then started working there, all of that stuff. Now he's interviewing with another Miami NBA basketball team. And so he's done
Wow.
well by just volunteering and starting from the bottom, and he's done really well.
Wow. That's awesome. The power of volunteers, right?
It is, it is, it is, yeah. And for Tracy, a lot of times you're also on the board of Resource Global. We're on the board of Mission Mutual together. What is your job title? What do you do over at the Museum of the Bible?
Yes, so I am the Chief Development Officer. So I oversee fundraising activities for the museum as well as our government relations and VIP services. I
Yeah.
joined in March. It's a really exciting post, still kind of new. I'm still in my first year, but I've been in fundraising for about 25 years.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty exciting new endeavor.
Well, I think a lot of times you've always been in the Christian space, but you were originally with Bright Hope, and then you've been with Biblical and all of that stuff. For you, if someone says to you, "What is the secret to fundraising? What makes you so successful?" What would you say, Tracy?
It's definitely relationships. I
Hmm.
mean, I think at the end of the day, people don't want to be treated as an ATM, and especially generous people who are smart and savvy about their philanthropy, as they'd call it in sort of the secular space, or their generosity, they call it in the sacred space. And I think what I've learned over the years is that people want, especially in the faith-based sector, people want relationship with the
Yeah,
staff. They want
yeah,
different levels of the staff, and not every level, but they want to know that they are giving to people
yeah.
who make the mission happen, and not just some annual report. if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah. And Tracy, I think you do this really well. I have found a lot of times I don't need to talk with them about money all the time. We talk about a variety of things. Maybe once a year, we'll talk a little bit about, hey, what is it that you need? What projects can we be involved in? All of that stuff. But a lot of times it's about what the organization is doing, what our families are doing, what our kids are doing, but also telling them the good things and bad things about the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to, again, in the sacred space, you want to be able to pray with them if they have prayer needs. You want to understand where their family's at, if they've got a child in need who needs extra prayer and support. They want to know how their dollars are making a difference. So
Mm.
just calling them with really cool wins or stories that your mission had. I think that's the part that, and listening. I overheard a seasoned fundraiser a couple weeks ago talking to a younger fundraiser, and the younger fundraiser said, well, how did you get that big 6-figure gift out of them? In that hour, what did you say? What did you say? He said, I didn't say very much. I just listened to them. And then
Mhm.
like to your point, Tom, he just presented the needs, but people just
Yeah.
want to be heard and know that they have a place in an important missional impact.
Yeah. And there are times when you sit there, someone will sit there and say, okay, how much do you need? But the variety and majority of the time, the lunch could go for about an hour and 10 minutes. And in the last 15 minutes, they'll say, all right, so tell me a little bit what you're looking for. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you have an opportunity too as a fundraiser, if you're listening out there and you're a fundraiser, to be able to say something like, "Hey, this meeting isn't about an ask." And I always find it important to say this meeting because there may in the future be a meeting that is about an ask, right? So it's not
Yeah.
all the meetings with me always, but
Yeah.
this meeting is not about an ask because that just disarms people too. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you really do care about me. You really are here to give me an update like you promised when you asked
Right.
for the meeting.
Yeah. You mentioned that you've been fundraising for 25 years. What did you think that you were going to do when you graduate from college?
I want to plan big events in Chicago, the best galas and parties that the philanthropic world had. And so that's what got me into it in Chicago,
Seriously?
starting off. Yeah, yeah.
What
I loved
inspired you to
it.
do something like that? Or did you attend an event and you said, wow, I want to do this one day?
No, I just looked. It's funny. It's a long history there, Tommy, but I would say the home I grew up in had a very distorted view of money and how it should be used. We were bankrupt 3 times before I was
Um,
15. From birth to 15, 3 times bankrupt. Just really severe disorientation to what money was and who God was and how he played into that, how he was my father. And so when I went off to college at Indiana University, let's talk about the Indiana Hoosiers later, please, in college football. Um, but when I left Indiana, everybody was migrating to Chicago. I got to Chicago and I thought, this is it. This is how I can be different. I wanted to be other than my family. I didn't want to have my kids to miss out on sporting events or movies or fun things because we didn't have money. So part of my righteous indignation to be successful in Chicago was doing something I knew how to do, which was plan events, and do
mm,
that kind of coordinating administratively. What I didn't know was God was going to use it for his glory. But at the time, it was more of like, I want to be successful. What does that
yeah,
look like? And so I looked at these galas and parties and thought, I can do this. I can help these people plan these
yeah.
fun parties.
And so when you were at Indiana University, what was your major then?
Journalism and with a business minor.
Okay, got it, got
So
it,
I
got it.
wanted to be a newspaper publisher. This was before the business of news went down the tube with the age of the internet, but that was my goal.
Yeah. As you look back, it's funny how God is always planting seeds all the time. Like when you were a little girl, did you always enjoy planning things and setting things up and being organized?
Probably. I liked to be the life of the party. I like to be at parties. I like to do that kind of thing. So I guess I thought, well, if I plan them, then I can be at them. That was
Yeah.
sort of my thinking as a young professional.
Got it. You worked in Chicago a little bit and then you dived into the world of Bible translation, which I'm getting a chance to learn from in our time together at Mission Mutual. Talk about Bible translation because I bet you the majority of the people listening in are not familiar with Bible translation. What can you say about Bible translation?
Yeah, it's an amazing space to to learn in and be a part of in the kingdom. And it's a really unique time in Bible translation. I think so. Around 2010 at the last, not this most recent Luzon conference, but the one in 2010, there was a bunch of influential and far-reaching kingdom leaders
Hmm.
who kind
Hmm.
of sat at a table. And
Yep.
I feel like, Tommy, a lot of stories have come out of the 2010 Luzon conference,
Very much
right?
so. Very much
So
so.
many
Yep.
stories. Here we are 14 years later. One of those stories is the Bible translation story. And that is that these leaders came together and sort of said, hey, you're doing good things in Bible translation. So are they. So are they. So are they. What does collaboration look like? And so after a few years of pushing everybody along, they came to the idea of this Illuminations gathering. And then the Every Tribe, Every Nation Network, which is the behind the scenes part of it. And then, of course, Mission Mutual to undergird all of that,
Yeah.
where we serve.
Yeah.
But essentially, by 2033, these 11 Bible agencies that have come together and their resourcing partners have locked arms with a strategic plan to say by 2033, the whole world will have access to scripture, at least
Yeah.
portions of it.
Mhm.
And so they're on the march to get there. And I think as of last week, it was something like 11, there's of the 7,000 languages in the world, they were saying in 2010, 2011 that it was going to be like 2152 before they could translate all those
Yeah.
languages. And now here we are saying 2033, and they're on pace. But I want to say around 1,100 languages that still haven't been started yet, but they're in the plan so that in the next
Yeah.
9 years, gosh, that they'll
Yeah.
all have scripture.
Yeah, yeah. And literally, a lot of times we're in a wonderful organization called Mission Mutual, which literally is the project management, which supports all of these different things. And you have groups like Wycliffe, C Company, American Bible Society, all of these guys all coming together. And collaboration is more than just, okay, let's just sit around a room and just talk about the importance of partnership, but they're actually doing the partnership and working together on it.
Doing the partnership, working together on it, holding each other accountable, hitting, setting iterative goals to that reflect success, and then
Yeah,
measuring it and seeing if they do it. And then there have been moments along the journey, just in my involvement over the last 7 or 8 years, where people have had to say, hey, wait a minute, we're not hitting that goal. What does that mean? How do we pivot? How do we change this up? And they've done it, and then they've seen success and been able to
yeah.
march forward again. Um,
Tracy, a lot of times we've seen a wonderful example of all these Christian organizations working together. From you being part of that world for so many years, what did true collaboration look like? What is it that you learn about collaboration that other ministries can learn?
yeah, I think the real key there is that you people may not want to say this, but that the key funders and the key resourcing partners in that world do really care about everything you're doing, and not in a unhealthy micromanagement way, which is where most of our nonprofit brains go when you talk about volunteers, board
Mhm.
members, or funders being so involved. But in this way, they really want to know, hey, they want to try new things. They're innovators, but if they fail, they want to know so that we can pivot or stop doing something or try something else or invest more in something else. The generosity is there as long as the truth and clarity around the success is going,
Mhm.
how it's being presented. And uh, that was a drift, I'd say, from what I had experienced previous to this collaboration of Illuminations. Because previously it was like, we just want to make sure we're succeeding. We want these fundraising dollars to be successful, of the highest ROI, the highest impact. But in this space, if you're going to hit a major goal like 7,000 languages with access to scripture by 2033, you're going to have to try things that aren't going to work. And you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
have
yeah,
funders that say, okay, great. We know now that's not going to work that way. How can we do it better next time? And that was
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
remarkable.
And a lot of times, the one thing I appreciate about involving some of the marketplace leaders, they run businesses. They're always they're looking at the bottom line. They're looking at profit, and so as a result, there's an urgency to what they do. You need to bring some of that into the Christian world, where there's an urgency to get it done. Or hey, look, we'll get it done by 2150 or whatever it is. No, let's just get it done in 2033 as fast as we can.
Right. You're totally right, which is why the marketplace leaders who have a heart for the Lord and have a heart for kingdom purposes stay in the marketplace and continue to use those strategies, because over here on this side, we really just put a big wall up between ourselves, right? We think of it as marketplace leaders earn money, so they throw it over the wall to us over in nonprofit, and we can go do the missional stuff. When in fact, there's absolutely nothing in the Bible that says it should be that way. We're all supposed to be one body, striving as one man contends for the faith, right? So um, it's a pretty powerful reflection. I think the Illuminations movement as a whole is quite successful, and it's a wonderful reflection of how that all works together.
Yep. And to promote the organization that you and I support in Mission Mutual, they do a very, very good job, led by Dell and Mindy and those guys, to provide the backbone support of everything that they do, to make sure deliverables are done, to make sure the infrastructure, accounting, timelines, all of that stuff are met. And you need that outside organization to provide that support for all projects.
Absolutely. I think that the Collective Impact Alliance model, which is this illumination model, has been successful in this case because of the backbone support of Mission Mutual.
Yeah.
Without it, it would be much farther behind.
Yeah. You then transition over to Museum the Bible. I've never had the honor of visiting Museum the Bible. Talk to me about your newest role and the organization.
Yeah. So Museum of the Bible opened its doors in 2017. And it's now the mission is to invite all people to engage in the transformative power of the Bible. And that's told through 400,000 square feet of museum, which is hard to believe, 2 blocks from our nation's capital, right in the heart of Washington, D.C. And so we're going to see almost over 400,000 visitors this year. We celebrated our 3 millionth visitor earlier this summer.
I remember
So
that.
yeah, we're newer in the museum space in the DC area, but certainly making a big splash. And we get constant feedback when people come through. They always say, "I never would have imagined this." So it's a must. It's a must visit. Throughout this 400,000 square feet, we share the history, narrative, and impact of the Bible. So we've got immersive experiences, to bring your teens. We've got a kids area for your kiddos. Tommy, all your kids would have a blast if they came. And then we have artifacts. We have a huge partnership with the Israeli Antiquities Authority, and we have partnership with the Vatican. Beyond that, just other things that over the years, through partnership and acquisition, our curatorial team has done an amazing job. That truly, what I like to tell my teens when they say, "Well, what does that really mean, Mom?" For my teen who's not into museums per se, I say the artifacts in the Museum of the Bible make the stories of the Bible come to life.
Yeah.
So you talk about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being thrown in the fiery furnace, right? Well, we have a brick from Nebuchadnezzar's reign that proves that Nebuchadnezzar had liked to write his ponderings in his own language and then fire kiln those bricks and then build buildings with the bricks of his pondering, because this is before writing or papyrus or scrolls. So now when you see this brick, Nebuchadnezzar had a fiery furnace, which would make complete sense that when he didn't like what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did, he would have thrown them in said fiery furnace.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really so that's just one of thousands of examples of what is on
Yeah.
display in the Museum of the Bible.
For you, a lot of times you're about a year, 11 months and all that stuff. What is your favorite exhibit?
Oh, gosh. My favorite exhibit is definitely one of our immersive experiences, which is called the Hebrew Bible Experience, which is about a 30-minute walk through the Hebrew Bible. And it walks you through the story and it starts the start and the end, from Genesis to that final end of that Old Testament piece is just so powerful. And whether you've read those stories a million times or never read them before, it comes to life in a way that makes you want to go back and pick up your Bible and read it again, which I've done now a few times since I've started.
Yes. And is there a new exhibit that you guys are bringing in, or there's always something happening at the museum?
Yeah, we did just open this remarkable exhibit called the Megiddo Mosaic Foundations of Faith. This is a mosaic floor that was found when excavators were looking at a penitentiary in Megiddo, which is in Israel. And Megiddo is an important city, is in the Bible as well, too, if you want to look that up for you Bible theologians. And so they found this mosaic floor, and it dates back to 2030 AD, which is now the earliest. It references Jesus the God. So this is now the earliest reference to Jesus um, in artifact history that has been found, and it's been put on display in Museum of the Bible for the first time ever outside of Israel, and it opened in September of this year, and we will have it through July of 2025. So it's a very
Yeah.
almost it's a special trip to make as a Christian to see this piece of our history that's been found. It also, which I'm very excited about, has what I like to call the first donor or patron wall to ever exist ever. There are 5 women, Tommy, that are recognized as the donors who made this possible, and then 1 Roman centurion who gave the money to make this what we think was probably a worship house in 2030. So this is when it was a time of persecution and you couldn't necessarily be safe to be a Christian. And yet this Roman centurion's name's on the floor, as well as these 5 women who we don't know for sure, but based on some research, it seems possible that some of them were martyred at some point within that season of persecution of Christians. So just a fabulous representation of hard times back in 2030. Same Christ, same God, same Jesus we still worship today. Sometimes we still suffer hard times, and it's really a must see.
Very, very good. Okay, so you mentioned that you had the 3 millionth customer or visitor to the museum. Were you there on that day?
I was not. A bunch of our team were though, and it was some. As a Hoosier, I was really proud that it was a couple from Indiana that came in that day on a visit, and they were told, "Hey, you're the 3 millionth visitor," so they got a lifetime membership to the Museum of the Bible. Bunch of big goodie baskets from our retail shop, which has some phenomenal swag, and it was a really fun celebration.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video. I am sitting there. I wish I was with them, the team on that day, because as people are walking in, and you're now going to 2,002,999, and you know that next person, whoever comes in, they're the 3 million customer. I would love to have been there.
Yeah, it would have been fun. It's kind of like Publisher Clearinghouse days of our childhood. Remember that when they would surprise
Yes.
people on the door? The prize is a little different, but it was still exciting.
Now, Tracy, you've made transitions, whether it's in Chicago at Bright Hope, then over in Biblica, and now over at Museum of the Bible. What's your advice to people? When did you know it was time to leave or transition? What's your advice for people who are thinking about transitions?
Yeah. I was just rereading my journal from some transitions this morning. The birthday, you get reflective on what God did the last year. And one of the things that I wrote down all of the 2 different times that I transitioned was um, I'm not leaving, I'm going. So I'll say that again. I'm not leaving, I'm going. And I think that statement is really, really important because in all of my transitions, for whatever reasons they were, it was not a I'm leaving a mission because fill in the blank, but it was very much I'm going to whatever God was calling me to next. In some cases, that was very clear. In my most recent transition, God actually just was really clear to my husband and I that it was time for me to go into a season of rest. So I was 44 years old and I went into the season of rest, and I had been working since I was old enough to earn money when I was like 14 through 3 pregnancies and maternity leaves. I always went back pretty full time, and to have 2 months, 2.5 months of just resting and thinking about what God wanted me to think about for this next season of life was really critical. So I would just encourage people in transitions, you start to feel the pull, but feel the pull for the right reasons and make sure the pull to transition is the pull to going versus leaving some situation that may very well be situational and could change, right?
Yeah, yeah. And for a good portion of your life, in your work life, you've been talking to people about money, generosity, everything like that. What can you say about money for the regular people who are just sitting there? A lot of people just don't like talking about money. They don't like talking about stewardship. You do this every single day. Talk to me about money.
Yeah. Gosh, isn't it complicated? I think that, and again, I mentioned at the top of our conversation that I was raised with a pretty distorted view of what money was: spending it, holding it, keeping it, giving it away. I think that recognizing that our very first priority is stewarding whatever we have, and whatever we have can do a lot. I think as the church and people of the church, we need to be giving. That should be tithing to our local church, tithing offerings to above and beyond to ministries, favorite places. Um, but I told my team, I was just talking to somebody on my team earlier today about, especially in the world of fundraising, when people are already giving to us, we know that when they take a meeting or a call, they want to talk about their generosity. So it's just really important to discern what that looks like. If that is
Yeah.
what we talked about earlier, if it's a thank you or how your dollars made an impact, or if it is, hey, thank you for this gift. Did you ever consider at this level you could do this? Some people just don't know. So
Yeah.
when we in my position, when we miss those opportunities, they're really big misses, and they're not just misses for your bottom line or your goal. They're kingdom misses in many cases, right?
Yeah, yeah. And also, a lot of times, as many people as you talk with, the answer may be no. Hey, I can't give it this time. No, I give to something else, and it's okay. And because you're not going to have wins all the time when you ask for money.
Totally. My very first boss in Chicago on Michigan Ave, she would come out of her office some days and yell down the office line, like we all had our offices who were fundraisers, and go, all right, team, let's have a great day. Go get me some no's. Go get me lots of no's, because because every no gets you closer to the yes, right? When you have a
Yeah.
list of people you're going to walk through relationship, in empathy, with kindness, go get some no's. And so it's so disarming, right? Like what you said, if you just say to yourself, I might get a no, the answer very well could be no. And that is absolutely okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, I think a lot of times when marketplace leaders, if you're good at making money, don't be afraid to make money. If God
Right.
is giving you that gift, I mean, I learned that from our friend Alan Barnhart. If that is your gift, but whose money does it belong to?
Right. Who is the steward? Who ultimately owns it? That is the key. Exactly. And I've seen the principle of generosity work with faith based givers and just philanthropic givers for the last 25 years. People be the most generous and have probably no North Star to God or, the Christian faith, but just love being generous. And the principles of generosity continue to work out in their lives. I would watch it, and I can't wait for the day they draw the lines together to say, "Oh, there is a God. He gave me everything I have. I've been stewarding it. I've been generous with it." But if you give, you'll receive, and people they received blessings upon blessings as far as what the Lord continued to give them, even though they didn't acknowledge Him yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, we're almost done, and I promise you that we're going to talk a little sports. You want to talk about Indiana Hoosiers football? There's nothing to talk about in
Of
regards to
course,
Indiana Hoosiers
there
football.
is. They're number 9 in the rankings, I think, today, right? Maybe 8, number 9. They were at 5, but they're going to get a playoff bid, Tommy. They're going to do
Seriously,
it.
really? Okay, I gotta look into this. I did not realize Indiana football was that good. I always thought it was similar to Illinois football, and Illinois football is terrible.
Well, we have been forever. But so we have this new coach. He brought 13 of his players from James Madison over. He's a turnaround guy. So we're 11-1, and our one loss was to Ohio State. So some of you people out there might think, "Oh, well, you've been playing high school teams." That's what my
Yeah,
son said to me. But you know what? The stats are the stats, so we'll see.
very, very good. So, Tracy, what do you like doing for fun? Watch football, hang out with your kids, and all that stuff. What else do you like doing for fun?
Yeah, I enjoy the roles I get to play as a mom. My daughter's in cheer. I am a cheer mom all season long. We're in the competition season, so that's really fun. We'll travel for that. My son does cross country and track, and then my other son does football. So when I'm not working, or I'm with the fam, playing those fun roles,
Yeah.
being with friends, and I love to read. I have tried to enjoy. I think I'm going to close in on 24 books this year by the end of
Wow, very good.
24, which will be good.
Uh, Couple questions I have with that. Number one, what does it mean to be a cheer mom? Like, what kind of competitions do you go to be a cheer mom?
You travel for hours and hours, Tommy, and spend tons and tons of money on costumes and hair bows and ribbons to watch a 2 minute and 52-second present performance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, but they practice 3 to 5 times a week
Yeah.
for a few hours. It's very intense. In a couple weeks, we will know if she makes it to the big nationals, which is in Orlando at Disney. And then we go and compete against high schools all over the country for some sort of placement. But the big win is just to go to nationals and play in the
Yeah.
big dance. You know what I mean? The big dance of cheer.
Very, very good. Your
The
son,
parents get, sorry, I was going to
oh,
tell
go
you
ahead.
the whole thing about cheer. and being a cheer mom is the parents get graded on their cheering too. So when your team is up there, I know, isn't it wacky? When your team's up there, I mean, you bring the cowbells and the whistles and you're
Yeah.
screaming. And if
Yeah.
you can cheer along with the girls, it's even better. And they get a better score if we're good fans.
So what do you bring to this cheering section?
My really loud screaming voice because my children have banned my cowbells.
And your son, what position is he playing football?
He is O-line.
Okay. Very,
So he
very
just had
nice.
a pretty rough season. Their team wasn't so good, but he's going to be in high school
Yeah.
next year. So he's looking forward to a high school bid next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Any books you're reading that will be interest for the audience?
Oh, I'm just about to start Steve Carter's The Thing Beneath the Thing. Have you read
Okay.
that one yet?
Oh. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. So my husband's finishing it and I'm going to read it next. Our pastor was talking about it a lot. So I'm very curious because my mom used to, when she was in my childhood years, my mom would always say, "What's the thing beneath the thing here?" So I'll have to
Yeah.
see what Steve Carter says about it.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
One last thing about, and going back to your Bible translation, how do you think AI is going to change Bible translation?
Uh, yeah. AI is going to advance Bible translation. In fact, at the Museum of the Bible, I didn't mention this, but we have an illuminations room. So in the museum, when you come, whoever's listening, you will get to see a room that reflects the progress to date on the Bible translation movement around the world. And just a few weeks ago, we had the distinct privilege of hosting a Bible translator from a very persecuted area of the world who completed the translation with the assistance of AI. So he spoke
Mm,
pretty confidently about the assistance of AI. But let's be really clear, and I think the Illuminations movement will be very clear to say that AI doesn't replace Bible translators. It enhances and speeds up the work of Bible translators. Theologians will always need to check the work and read the work and make sure it's the right, staying on
yeah.
point. But indeed, AI can speed it up and hopefully get it to a place where it's more corrections and adjustments versus a complete blank sheet of paper, right?
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Tracy, for more information on yourself and Museum of the Bible, where can they find you guys at?
Yeah, please visit us at museumofthebible.org. I'm on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I'd love to help you. If you want to bring some people to the museum, we'd love to make sure it's a fantastic red carpet experience for you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
Tracy
you, Tony.
Thomas, dear friend, board member, Resource Global. We're on the board of Mission Mutual, working over at Museum of the Bible. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.